Hello, my name is Grian, and today I'm going to be trying a different format than what I usually do. Instead of taking you through the process of building a house, I've got a bunch of designs which I want to show you and sort of talk about some of the things that the crew have done to make these houses, and then hopefully spark your imagination to build something similar. So let's start with the first one, which is just a normal Rustic E house. So what's really key about this is the shape of the roof. All of these are in a 10 by 10 square, and I'll be showing you round the houses and pointing out some of the key building mechanics involved. The first one here being mixing up a flat wall texture with two blocks of the same thing. So as you can see, there's cobblestone and stone in there mixed around a framework. Now on the top, we have a roof that is fairly simple, except the use of different blocks, the staircase and the half slab, make it a lot more textured and detailed. On the side, it's pretty much the same story, but we have some of these good ledges between the frameworks to try and give it a more rustic and rough feel. Sometimes when you're building a house, you don't want just a staircase after staircase after staircase and have this gradual and straight edge. Sometimes it's nicer to rough it up a little bit and have some inconsistency in the build. As you can see with this further example of a farmhouse, it's using the same design but with a few ulterior features about it. One of them being this tiny little farm in the corner that would be enough to make a few loaves of bread. But the main thing about these designs is the use of the half slab in particular, and the textures that you have in the walls, and making sure that they're not just one block, but ones of a similar colour and style that complement one another. Next up is a design that will look very familiar to those that follow the channel. It's that nice combination of brick and clay that really works well together, but you'll see that there are some inconsistencies with the pattern, and that's intentional. That's what gives it that nice feel. It's also got some leaves around it, and the roof, although being a general right-angled shape, it has that rustic feel to it by including different blocks like half slab and full blocks in with the staircase. On the inside, there's not too much space. You can see we added a garage door, but there is no space for a garage, but there is enough to put some sort of interior in them, albeit in a 10 by 10 area. Next up is a desert house. Now this one is slightly different to my usual style because it was made by the crew, but what they've done is a really nice job of decorating a desert house. So you can see it's got an overhanging arch above the door which really accentuates the shape of the build. But what I really want to point out on this design is the use of the micro details. Look at the signs, the buttons, and all the little uses of staircase in the build. They really help the very simple design that we've got going on here. You can see that the textures of the sandstone also break up the flat walls, but for the most part it's a box shape, but it's been detailed in such a way that accentuates the build. Next up is a modern house design, again in a 10 by 10 shape. The height of these are going to vary drastically, so it's made out of snow so that we can have these tiny slit holes for windows, and the main sort of feature of it is the giant clay block. On the inside there is less room than normal, but there's still enough to fit in some average stuff like a TV or whatever the hell you want in it. But one of the good features about this is the shape indeed. Next up is a snow biome house with custom penguin. So it's primarily made out of wood and it's a little taller than the other designs, but there's something I want to point out particularly about this house, and it's the sheer scale of the overhang and how this adds a whole lot of depth to this build. So you can see it goes a good 4 blocks back before you actually get to the door, and this imposing design is what makes it look even taller than it really is. And like the desert house, some of the details that are really minute are coming into play here. You can also see there's a very consistent theme of using different blocks to break up the textures. Look at the roof, there's 2 different coloured clays. The ice is falling down, but also mixed in with some polished andesite and some snow as well. And again, you can put all of these minute details into a very small space to give a very nice, detailed 10 by 10 house, including things like a chimney, a penguin if you so wish, and all those little buttons and trapdoors and fence gates. All of those contribute to a very finely detailed house. Next up is more of a spooky design, so we're taking elements of all of our previous ones and putting them together to create a shape that dictates what we imagine spooky to be. So we've got a lot of dark colours in this design, a bunch of cobwebs, some overgrown elements to it, such as the tree coming out the middle, and to be honest with you, if you removed the spooky elements, such as the cobwebs and all that stuff that I just mentioned, it would look like a fairly good normal house, but because of the colour scheme and the clever choice of decorations, we perceive it to be more spooky than it really is. So those are just some tips if you were making something for Halloween, even though it's almost summer. Next up is a tribal house. Now, we can kind of tell that this is that style because of the round shape. That's what we sort of perceive stereotypically a sort of tribal hut to look like. Again, the different type of blocks make up the texture in this, along with the use of half slabs. Now, it is actually a perfect circle in terms of symmetry, but on the top, we have a radically different design of symmetry to create the hut's top, and this isn't a bad thing. Not everything needs to be symmetrical when you're building, as long as it looks pleasing to the eye, and that's sort of achieved through some sort of artistic merit. At the front we've got a double door. I'm not sure why I personally included that, but I thought it looked pretty cool nonetheless. So for this design, you just need a bunch of blocks that work with the shape. Next up is a jungle house. Now this one is purely reliant on that constant texture breaking up. The use of the different kinds of wood mixed in with the vines and the cobblestone, stone and sandstone mix up really make this look like it fits in a jungle scenario, along with of course some of the leaves on the top. The shape itself is slightly irrelevant, but it's all about that texture breakup. Now this one here doesn't actually use the texture breakup that we've been showing for the last 9 designs, but what it does have is a very nice shape. It is completely symmetrical, so it's the same on each side, which again is pleasing to the eye, but for the other designs it wasn't as applicable. The design here is based on a solid framework that doesn't have everything in line. So the framework breaks up your eyes into 3 segments of the front, and the top is just a simple square design that is designed to make sure that your eyes are not focused on the top, but rather the front of the house itself. So those are our 10 designs of houses in a 10 by 10 square. Hopefully I went round them enough for you to copy them if you so wished, but hopefully some of the ideas used in these houses will have given you some inspiration to be able to make something similar or similar size, or maybe just given you a small trickle tip that you didn't think of when building in Minecraft. So that's it from me, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this slightly different kind of video. I don't normally do block for block stuffs, and I still didn't. I just showed you the designs. I need to say a big thank you to the crew that helped make all of these designs, which I have showcased here today. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye!